break here. I bought a new windshield wiper, which I desperately needed for one of my wipers. That's all good. And I had like and a hot dog and some fries and a drink. So I'm so grateful to have the option to just go and get some food when needed. I think I'd be a great foodie. I don't eat out very often, but I think when I'm able to one day, I will definitely enjoy that experience because that would be a lot of fun. But no, in the meantime, I am so grateful for just the ability to eat. So I'm trying to find out where I'm going. I think it needs to be over there. Yeah, I'm gonna turn around here. Sometimes the pin doesn't drop in the right spot, so you just gotta do a little searching around for where you want to get to. I'm just about to pick up a rider. If you're coming in, my name is Binny. I'm an Uber driver here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I will connect with your comments in the after part after my rider leaves the vehicle. In the meantime, they're my focus. So, yeah. Here we are. See if we can find my rider. There they are. I'll go grab the door for them. 1 second.
Thank you very much.
Now, I could try pronouncing your name, but I may get it wrong.
Okay.
Is it
Ogechi.
Ogechi?
Ogechi, yes.
Okay. Nice to meet you, Ogechi.
Same here.
My name is Binyam.
Okay, lovely.
Nice to meet you, dear. Ogechi, just wanted you to know at the outset, I do something a little interesting in my Uber.
Sorry, if you speak a bit loud, my hearing is not the best.
Absolutely, for sure. Let me turn the music off. I was saying I do something a little unusual in my Uber.
Okay.
I like to live stream, so please don't talk about anything you find personal.
Okay.
So it
I
doesn't
hope I
go-
won't be in the video.
You're
because I
not.
need the right mess.
You're not. It's
Okay.
just right on me, so I want to make
Okay.
sure your privacy is intact that way as well.
Carry
too.
go, as they say in my home country.
What did they say?
Carry on.
Carry
go,
on.
as in-
I like that. I like that. Where's your country? I'm gonna guess Nigeria.
Yes.
Okay. Very cool.
So that's how they say. When they say carry go, it means carry on.
Carry on.
No problem.
As you will. Yes.
I will zip.
No worries, darling. I was gonna say happy Monday, by the way.
Oh, same to you.
Thank you. I'm not sure if I'm getting used to the cold, but it doesn't seem as cold now. It's still minus 13,
Okay.
but it seems warmer, doesn't it?
Well, I'm new to Calgary, so I'm the wrongest person.
Ah!
I'm the wrongest person to ask.
I gotcha.
Apparently, this is not the worst.
This is no.
Nobody's been lying to me. I've been going. It gets better, right? And
Yes.
Like nope. So, but hopefully, like you, I'm an optimist.
Yes.
I hope it will get warmer at some point.
When did you move here?
5 weeks ago.
Okay, so if you haven't heard, our fall
Yeah.
was longer than usual this year.
Yeah.
So that means we were having a blast, like having an extended non-winter season.
Okay.
So it's about time, I guess.
Okay, but try and lie to me a little. At least I need someone to lie to me and tell me it's gonna be all right.
Is this your first experience with snow?
No.
No,
But
okay.
it's not this bad usually.
I understand,
Yes.
okay.
So I came from slightly less colder, the slightly less colder
Yeah,
area.
yeah.
Have you been to the UK before?
No,
Okay, so it's not as cold as this, trust me.
but it's damp or
Yes,
humid, right?
It's a wet cold.
A wet
Well,
cold.
this is a dry cold, so slightly better, but still cold is cold.
See, what I heard about the wet cold is that it gets right into your bones.
Yes, it does.
But this one does not.
no,
So this is better?
In some ways, yes, but it's still cold. I'm not engineered for cold. Come on.
I know. I still hold my African card and say this is not my natural climate.
So this is not the weather I was built for. So,
I understand. I understand.
but we'll get used to it one way or another.
You know, the nice thing I was thinking as you were pulling away from
Yeah.
the location there,
Yeah.
I was seeing the individuals who are working on the construction outside. And whenever I see them, a note of gratitude comes into my conscience where I say, I'm so grateful I'm not outside working in these elements, because that's the next level that makes it more miserable potentially, you know.
Well, you're a normal person. Those guys are not.
But the thing is,
I'm just kidding.
yes,
Sorry, guys.
no. But here's the thing, though. I used to work in that setting.
Oh, really?
I did. I was out in the elements, so that's why I think for me there's a lot of.
What
This
is he
person,
driving?
I'm not sure. He's trying to sneak into this road,
Okay.
but he didn't
Probably
notice.
new to.
Maybe. I just want to make sure he knew I was here. It's one of those things you just watch for along the way, right?
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I was just going to say, my contrast
Yeah.
always leads me to gratitude. So I've worked many years outside in the elements,
Okay.
in the midst of the severity of the weather temperatures.
Yes.
And so I'm always remembering that and saying, oh, this is a lovely transition for me not to be out there. So I remember so that I can relish this moment.
Okay. Let me talk like my friend.
Yes.
Those guys are aliens in human skin.
And yet,
Finally, you joined humankind. Welcome, brother.
well then, I'm
You
so
joined-
grateful.
You were traumatized or joined.
I'm glad to be in your number, and yet I guess I'm also so grateful that they're the ones working.
Yes.
Hopefully, they're getting compensated well enough for it. But
Hopefully,
I
but
know.
you know this world, those that work hard don't get compensated well, and those that are, how do I remain politically correct? You get my drift.
I do.
Those that don't work as
I
hard
know.
but seem to be the ones
I
making the
know.
rules and making
It
the money.
seems so unjust, doesn't
Yeah.
it? And I think about, I heard a comment that was said that there are many very hard workers that end up in the grave still poor. So it's not necessarily about working hard per se, you know, because if it was working hard that gets you ahead in life, that's wonderful. But there are so many faithfully who work hard and never get acknowledged for the massive investment of work that they put in.
And maybe the world is about working smart nowadays. And smart is always fair.
Yeah, exactly.
There are different rules. We have the rules we're taught.
Yeah.
Be good, be this, be that. And
Yeah.
then slightly crooked
Absolutely.
of life. So
And for
that's crazy.
and for you and I, we'd probably never have our conscience for sale.
Yes.
The way some can steer their consciences and proceed in the way that they do is unfortunate because there are casualties that way. But I am very grateful that even for the experience that we have, it seems like we have a better understanding of where value in existing is, right? I would not feel, for example, I think when I pass by a casino, I'm not sure if I would have a clear conscience knowing that there are many whose lives are devastated because of patronage to those places, for example, right? That would cause me unrest internally.
But some
Yes.
school of thought tell they are adults
Yeah,
and they have free will.
true. And yet, there's also something to be said about, getting someone in their weak points. So
Yes.
those adults who have free will, my goodness, they're responsible for their decisions.
Yes.
But I don't want to be an agent to their weakness.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? For example, as I create content online, something that's very important for me is consent.
Yeah.
That's why I don't have you on the camera, right? Because that I would want to have permission first, right? And not everyone has that, for example. But there are many who, for example, create content online without any care for that consent factor, and so they will go and post pictures without permission of many people who never want to be out there. And usually the content is based on at that person's expense, whether
Yeah.
it's funny, whether it's awful. Like they do it for traction that way. And again, it's you get to a certain point where you have to work hard on not caring that it becomes the norm. And then I wonder if that isn't how some individuals start to lose their humanity. When, in my perspective, I think we start to lose our humanity when we just don't care and have empathy for our fellow human beings. When we
That
don't,
is to me. When you can't put yourself in someone else's shoes,
yeah.
you're essentially a dead person. I know it
And
sounds
you're living.
hard.
I know, but
You're dead inside.
absolutely.
That's the way I look at it. So
Because when you appeal to each other, you're saying, what kind of common ground can we find to be able to relate, to coexist well? And so when you don't do that, it does get easier. And so, for example, as I watch the devastation in so many fronts worldwide as individuals, here's the thing: you and I come from a continent that is so lavish in resources, that is so diverse in traditions and cultures and peoples that are beautiful, and yet we are still struggling. It's on common themes with the mismanagement of the resources, with the corruption of those who are appointed to oversee and look after, right? In essence, there's again another example of how someone so robs himself of that humanity internally that I wonder how they are comforted as they go and indulge in their luxury at the expense of so many others. You and I know that we'd rather be in the trenches with those that we are responsible for to try and carry the weight and collectively move forward together. But they've lost that cue, it sounds like. Unfortunately.
you're dead inside.
Yeah.
If you really want to make, what is it that they say? Sometimes some of these very, very rich people,
Yeah.
they say they were not, they didn't get to that point by being koala bears.
Sorry, why koala bears?
They're cute and
Oh.
harmless and huggable.
Oh.
They have vicious claws. So,
I see.
So they didn't get there by being all sweetness and light.
Yeah.
You have to be willing to do whatever it takes to make, what will I call it? I don't care money. I don't care level of money. I think as in not having a care. Almost like godlike kind of money.
Yeah.
Just imagine a human being having over how many $1 billion? Just can you imagine how many zeros?
No.
How did you get to that point? Why do you even need that amount of money?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I don't fault them. They got it. However they got it.
Yeah.
It's their luck. But I don't know. There's some amounts that just seem crazy to me.
Yeah. In some way, even as I pursue my goals, which part and parcel will involve influence and familiarity, the question I'm asking at a starting point is, how do I not end up losing my soul that way? How can I reverse engineer in such a way where there are checks and balances that are my friends along the way?
So the assumption is you had the soul first.
That's a legitimate concern, though, wouldn't you say? A legitimate concern to say, I have seen the pathway of so many that ends up in a certain way. How can I bypass that destination point with such altruistic aims at the outset, like those other individuals said they had?
I think it starts with the home. What values were you brought up with? What did you see growing up? What is important to you? What do you think is important in life? What kind of spiritual person? And again, I know I keep hammering on it. You probably get tired of it. And do you, how would I put it? Do you see other people as even human?
Yeah.
Do you see other people as even human?
Yeah.
How do you see your fellow human beings? Do you, I don't know, people that seem to be heartless, so to speak.
Yeah.
They don't have a Jimmy Cricket. That's part of it.
Yeah.
whether imaginary or
Yeah.
someone
Realistic,
they
yeah.
can bounce off. Who are your friends?
Exactly. That's a good
Who are the
question.
kind of people around?
Yeah.
See, a lot of this. Let me use an example. It sounds a lot make more sense.
Yeah.
Remember this singer Megan Thee Stallion? Is it Megan Thee Stallion? She's a black rap artist.
Okay, I'm not familiar with this individual.
If you look her up, when she started,
Yeah.
when she was still going to school, I
Yeah.
think she was doing something respiratory. I think
Therapy?
it was respiratory therapy or something
Okay.
like that.
Yeah.
And she was still coming up in the music scene.
Yeah.
She appeared to be humble. She appeared to have a good head on her
Yeah.
shoulders,
Yeah.
down to earth.
Yeah.
But with time, as she started getting more popular, she started to change. Or was it really change, or the darker, deepest part of her that couldn't manifest because she didn't have the resources started to come to play?
Yeah.
And she started to change. And she started losing friends.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily for the best of
Yeah.
best friends.
Yeah.
But she started doing things
Yeah.
that were not always appropriate.
Yeah.
And now she's probably richer, but I don't think she's happier.
Sadly.
She always seems to be a mess.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Unfortunate.
the question is,
Yeah.
what changed that supposedly sweet, down to earth,
Yeah.
humble?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so happy for every opportunity given to me. To the person that sometimes can be petty, seems to keep getting in fights or having scandals and losing friends, and seems to be a bit more arrogant.
As I hear her story from you, some of the questions that are occurring in my mind are, when you get to this level of influence and fame,
Yeah.
your company also seems to change as well, and the advisors in your ear may not have subscribed to the same initial values, potentially. And so maybe there was an abandoning ship from former company and advisors.
Yeah, because the question would be your former friends, they
Yeah.
get you to where you want to be.
Right. And that's why I tell my close few intimate friends, I'm so grateful you're in my life now because you can call me on my BS in ways that no one can see yet. One. And two, it's going to get far more difficult for me as I approach the other outcomes, the fame, the notoriety at some point in the future. It'll be very difficult as everyone wants to be a friend to determine who are my quality friends. Are these individuals who are coming in here because of my status or are they here because of me? I tell my friends, I'm so grateful that you are the ones here now because this is where I find true friendship because there's nothing else to commend myself otherwise, right? So I value that and I say, I'm going to show you my blueprint of everything, especially those areas where I want to try and cut corners. Here's what that looks like when I do this. You should be asking me these questions. When I exhibit this, you should be like investigating in these areas here. Here's like how you have access, and the invitation as well too, whereby I say, as you come alongside, I want to make it very easy and comfortable for you to call me to task. Because that's also not an easy thing, There has to be that compelling, I really need this and I'm relying on you for this. So how can I make this an experience that you grow in confidence in?
And you see, one of the important things you pointed out there is putting aside the ego.
Putting aside my what, sorry?
Yes.
Putting aside the what, sorry?
Ego.
Ego, oh, right.
Yes. Can everyone do that?
Right, yeah. You see, one of the things I, in my personal estimation, think is the most beautiful thing I see in fellow human beings is that element or that characteristic of humility. I am so drawn to humility. I celebrate it when I see it. I aspire more to it, or want to be like it. So it's one of those, here, for example, like the very part of why I do what I do on my social platform, I think my mission now in life is I want to present a certain theme to especially young men. That's where I feel my calling is. But this theme is such that it's almost a double-edged sword in the sense that if I don't do what I'm talking about, I disqualify myself.
Really?
Does that make sense?
That's not easy.
Oh, I know, but I've taken this very intentionally because I've experienced many years, and that zone that you were talking about where you lose your humanity, I was relating to what you were saying because the way I say it sometimes is there are some lessons I don't want to learn twice. When I expressed dishonesty for many years, and as a result hurt many people
Yes.
in deep ways,
Yeah.
it was such an impacting and unfortunate lesson at their expense for my benefit that I said, let's not do that again, you know? And so, all that to say, now as I proceed towards my goal, what I want to, in some sense, market, that's a crass way of saying it, but I wanted to present a compelling invitation, especially for young men, and saying, here's my experience once upon a time. If you can relate with me in the many goof ups I made along the way, I've come to strive for something so specific in my life, and that is to exhibit what life with integrity looks like. That's the whole theme for me. And so as I talk about, as I model, as I make this more accessible, and as I call others to it in the way that I'm trying to do, if I were to do this falsely, it'll be found out and I'll disqualify myself again. When I find others who are doing far better at it, I don't feel intimidated at all. I'm actually ecstatic. I say, you're my new model that I want to strive to imitate because let me sit at your feet in essence and learn from you basically. How can I bring more attention to this in essence, right? So that's some of the steps that I am so far like at least considering, saying how can I imbibe this more so that this experience can be one that is redeeming, that is life-giving, that is inspiring and encouraging, that brings value to a community, you know? When I start thinking about the outcome of where I'm aiming for, when I see many young men who are transitioning and saying, I wish I'd had access to this conversation, but having this now, some way of making it more approachable and experiential, that's a really important part. That really gets me excited, you know, to think about that context.
I think part of the important thing is also remembering. I think the most service that has value is the one that is selfless. You're just doing it because I know it sounds so naive and stuff like that, but you're doing it because you can do it. No expectations.
Yeah.
That is very difficult.
Yeah.
It takes a lot to get to that level.
Yeah.
Because we as human beings, well, we don't inherently selfish.
Yeah.
We always want something out of it.
Sure.
But to get to that level where it doesn't matter whether you appreciate it or not, if you're not,
Yeah.
it doesn't get to you.
Yeah.
You just
Just lifting it. Yeah.
just
I agree with that. I resonate with that in a way. I resonate because, in my estimation, the economy of what you're describing is, how do I think about this? I think about this way. I've experienced so much of what I'm offering. Like I feel rich in it myself. I don't need anything from anyone else. In essence, I see myself as a cup that is brimming full of my favorite drink. The entire contents of this cup are mine to enjoy and savor. But what I'm giving and sharing is simply just the overflow of the good things that I've got the lion's share right here. It seems so wrong in my economy to enjoy so much good and not share it with others.
but share sensible.
Exactly.
There's a lot of werewolves out there.
True.
A lot of werewolves and baddies.
So true.
People will always want to take advantage, and this is not America. There are sharks out there.
Yes.
So
Well,
one has to be careful.
last night
You can be humble and good, but you don't have to be weak.
True.
Well, I don't know. You sound like a textbook.
No,
Get where you're coming
I
from.
do. I do.
Because people, at least from my experience, always try to take advantage.
Yeah.
So you should still have value in yourself, even well to be good for others.
Ogiche, I so agree with you. I was with a friend last night, spending some time just catching up. What I told this individual is there are so many people who wants my time and my attention, but I'm extremely specific as to who gets access. I told this friend it's a very select few that gain access in the way that I say this also works for me too. But for so many others who are asking for that, even as I engage online here, one of the things I tell those who are consuming the work that I do, I let them know I appreciate you so much. I appreciate that you're subscribing and participating, but I need you to know that you're not my number one priority. My number one goal is not to make this like the main thing in my life. I've got other responsibilities as a dad. I've got other responsibilities as a community member. I've got other responsibilities economically. And so you fall into a certain hierarchy of my priorities, and when I'm unavailable, I refuse to feed the machine that always demands more. Here's when I'm available, here's when I'm not available. You gotta learn to deal with it. So
Yes,
I agree.
setting is important.
Absolutely.
Social media is a scary place. It's very good on you guys that have
The fortitude?
gumption.
Yeah. Yes.
To put yourself out there.
There
I don't have that courage, so
but that's not your calling, is it?
Yes.
Your calling is elsewhere. And this is, I feel called to step into this space in spite of all the scary elements out there, because I wanted to add a different story that counters the pervasive weight of contrary perspectives that I don't find worthwhile, right? So it's one for me that I happily step into and say, let me roll up my sleeves and get comfortable here with happiness, for sure. Yeah.
it's good. It's good that you're doing it. I think young men of nowadays are getting it's harder now, I think, than it was in earlier days. It's a much tougher world.
It's a confusing world, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when I get to meet these individuals in real life, so they recognize me. It's usually the bow tie. They recognize the bow tie. Like,
Don't tell me your handle when.
oh, I will. I'll give you my card for sure,
Okay.
darling.
Okay.
But when they recognize me, it's one of the. It's a really. I'm still getting used to this. But here in the city, for example, let me tell you what happened maybe a month and a half ago. I was driving up in the northwest, and I pulled up to pick up my rider. And as I did, I was about to jump out to come open the door. But before I could open my door, this car pulls right up beside me. Okay, and the young man rolls down his window and he says, "Are you Binyam?" And I say, "Yeah." He says, "I've been watching your videos for years. I live in England and I just moved here. I can't believe I got to meet you after just moving here from England." All the way from England. Content and